We're going to be, back in the book of Psalms tonight. We're at Psalm 19 tonight. And Cindy was quizzing me on what I was going to be preaching this week. I told her speaking on, I said, I'm going to be speaking on Psalm 19. And she went, ooh, 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 ooh. That's my favorite. That's really one of my favorites. She added the emphasis on the really this time. And then she started quoting it. I'm thinking, oh my stars. But she could. I mean, she started going through, and I'm going, yep, that's what it says. But she has memorized put much of the word to memorization, and so I was encouraged by that. Psalm 19, this is going to be a psalm where David is not on the run from anybody. He's not hiding. He's not invoking the Lord against his enemies. Rather, this is a song of praise and adoration. It's a psalm just acknowledging the testimony to God's existence in two primary ways. Psalm 19 speaks to the knowability of the existence of God and how God makes himself known, both to the lost and the saved. Okay, initially, in the first way, we see the witness of general revelation, the witness of nature, and what nature has to say. And so David speaks to how the nature reveals or gives witness to God. And then secondly, the witness of written revelation, God's laws. So I kind of subtitled or titled this message, Can I Get a Witness? Can I get a witness? And so we're going to look at the witnesses that David lays out before us. And tonight we're going to look just at the first of these. We're going to focus on the first of these two witnesses, the witness of general revelation. And verses 1 through 6 contain the witness of general revelation as seen in Scripture. But I want to begin by reading the whole psalm, Psalm 19, so we get a context of all that David says, and then we're going to focus on verses 1 through 6. Psalm 19 says, "The heavens are telling of the glory of God, and their expanse is declaring the work of his hands. Day to day pours forth speech, and night to night reveals knowledge. There is no speech, nor are there words. Their voice is not heard. Their line has gone out through all the earth, and their utterances to the end of the world. In them he has placed a tent for the sun, which is as a bridegroom coming out of his chamber. It rejoices as a strong man to run his course. Its rising is from one end of the heavens, and its circuit to the other end of them, and there is nothing hidden from its heat. The law of the Lord is perfect, restoring the soul." Let me just remind you here, beginning at verse 7, we're going to see the word Lord, and you recognize the small caps in Lord, and that is a reference to Yahweh or Jehovah. So in the Legacy Standard Bible, you'll read the law of Yahweh is perfect, restoring the soul. It goes on, "The testimony of the Lord is sure, making wise the simple. The precepts of the Lord are right, rejoicing the heart. The commandment of the Lord is pure, enlightening the eyes. The fear of the Lord is clean, enduring forever. The judgments of the Lord are true, they are righteous altogether. They are more desirable than gold, yes, than much fine gold. Sweeter also than honey and the drippings of the honeycomb. Moreover, by them your servant is warned. In keeping them there is great reward. Who can discern his errors? Acquit me of hidden faults. Also keep back your servant from presumptuous sins. Let them not rule over me. Then I will be blameless, and I shall be acquitted of great transgression. Let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in your sight, O Lord, my rock and my Redeemer." As we begin this study tonight, I want to remind us of what you already know, but it's good to remind us of the things that we do know. To keep in mind this truth about general revelation, and that is this, that while natural revelation points to God, true knowledge only comes through the divinely given law. It's interesting to note that in Psalm 19, there's only one reference to God in the first 6 verses. Only one time. In verse 1, the heavens are telling of the glory of God. After that, he's referenced as he a couple of times, but his name is not given anywhere in those first 6 verses as we talk about the general revelation from nature. In the rest of the psalm, there are 7 references to the name of the Lord, Jehovah, Yahweh. That being said, there is much that we can glean from the general revelation of God in nature. And to me, actually, as believers, we can appreciate a little better the revelation that God gives us in nature because we get a fuller picture. We've read His Word. We know His law. And we see the end product in what He's doing. So with that in mind, David informs us that nature, or the natural creation, seeks to get man's attention. Nature, think about this, nature is actively engaged in testifying to the reality of God. You ever thought about it that way? Nature is actively engaged in testifying to the reality of God. And the first two verses, look at the words, the action words that are here. Nature is telling, nature is declaring, nature is speaking, and nature is revealing. So nature's communicating. It is seeking to direct the attention of mankind to God, to recognize that there is a God. And think about this, it's been an ongoing testimony. Since creation, that's been the testimony of nature, to point mankind to God, or recognize that there is a God. There has been no time since creation that this testimony has not been broadcasting to the inhabitants of the earth. Day and night, according to verse 2. Day to day pours forth speech, and night to night reveals knowledge. I remember attending an Awana conference years ago at Hebron Baptist Church. And one of the speakers in one of the classes was a man named Kurt Wise. He was a professor. Anybody remember him by any chance? Yeah. One of the things he talked about was being able to go out west into, I don't know if it was Wisconsin or one of the Midwest states, but the thing that was profitable about going to this Midwest state is there was not a lot of light pollution. If you live near a city and you look up in the sky, particularly if you live in New York or any metropolitan area, you really don't get a good view of the sky because of all the ambient light from the city itself. But if you're stuck out in the middle of the country, far away from city lights, you get a view of the sky that is just overwhelming. You see those stars that, Carl Sagan said there are billions and billions of them. Actually, there's probably more than that. But you can see them much more manifestly because there's no light pollution coming to obscure them. And he said as he was there, it looked, and it was just one of those aha moments of recognizing the glory and the splendor that nature displays before you when you see all those stars. And you begin to think about the fact that God has put those stars exactly where they are, and to remember that what God said about why He put the stars there. They were for signs, and they were for being able to navigate by. The stars serve many purposes. Think about this, God was intentional about the stars. Now you hear the evolutionists, man, and it's just like there was this big bang and everything got spinning really, really fast, and stuff just got spread out there. No, God was intentional about where things are. God put those stars exactly where they are and where they needed to be. Is the universe expanding? They tell us it is. I don't know, I'm not a scientist, but if you can believe that portion, and I get a little skeptical sometimes of some of their conclusions, but the reality is God's the one that set all that in place. It's a testimony to His awesomeness. Yet, if we look in verse 3, we're told, when we talked about the fact that nature's communicating all this stuff. Verse 3, it says, but listen, you're not going to hear any speech. There are no words that you're going to discern. There's no voice even. So it's a testimony actually that speaks louder than words. The scope of their testimony, according to the Scripture, their voice or their line, as some translations have it, is through all the earth. and it's to the end of the world. And the testimony is not so much audible as it is visible. You can see it. You know, think about it. If it's true that a picture paints 1,000 words, I'm sure you've heard that, and of course that was in a song many, many years ago. If a picture paints. Anyways, if that's true, and it is, then the transcript of what the heavens and the sky are saying has yet to be fully written. We're still getting that message. It's still developing. We don't know everything. We don't know everything about Earth, much less the universe, the stars. We still get surprised by things. You think about the pictures that the deep space telescopes have taken, the Horsehead Nebula. I mean, I was like, whoa, I never heard of the Horsehead Nebula, much less seeing the pictures that they have. They're phenomenal to see what's out there. God already put it there. Before anybody on earth discovered it, God had it there. A testimony to His creativity, His awesomeness. And David gives us one example that we can see, and that mankind has seen from the beginning. In verses 4b through 6, he says, in them, talking about the heavens and the sky, God has set a tent for the sun, which comes out like a bridegroom leaving his chamber, and like a strong man runs its course with joy. I don't know if you've ever had to ride into the morning sun, but it gets your attention. In the winter months, and the other time frame, what is it? Are we in daylight savings now, or are we the other one? You guys don't know either. Okay. Well, in the other, savings or not savings, I don't know when we're saving and when we're earning. We're saving right now, so we were earning before. Anyways, so in the other time frame, in the mornings when I would go to work coming up that hill, the sun was right there, and be shining right in my eyes, and I'm thinking, Lord, please don't let there be anybody coming from the other way, because I can't see them. You just kind of want to lean your head out of the truck or the Jeep and make sure you're not going to run into somebody. The sun is like a bridegroom coming out. I mean, listen, in Jewish life, the bridegroom is like, that's where, today it's the bride. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. The bride comes in. The bridegroom was also very important in Jewish life and in marriage. And when he came out, that was, big celebration. All eyes turned toward him. Well, bless goodness, you can't ignore the sun when it comes out. The majesty that is there. He says it comes out like a bridegroom leaving his chamber, and like a strong man runs its course with joy. Nothing has stopped the sun from going from east to west. It runs its circuit. It says in verse 6, its rising is from the end of the heavens, and its circuit to the end of them, and there's nothing hidden from its heat. When we consider the sun, we see the magnificence, if you will, of this celestial body. And consider what we have been able to discern about the sun, or scientists have, not me, obviously. Think about its size for just a minute. They tell us that its diameter is 109 times that of Earth. 109 times the diameter of Earth. That means, according to their estimates, you could fit 1.3 million Earths inside the sun. That blows my mind. 1.3 million Earths inside the sun. Of course, we'd be incinerated, but you get the idea. There's a question of size. And its energy, the energy output, listen, in 1 second, it produces the energy of 100 billion tons of dynamite. In 1 second. That's some awesome power that's being displayed and given. Its temperature, if you could stand on the surface of the sun, is 5,500 degrees Celsius, or if you like Fahrenheit like I do, 9,932 degrees Fahrenheit. The internal temperature is a mosty toasty 15 million degrees centigrade. Yeah, or 27 million degrees Fahrenheit. Of course, I think at that point, you're really not going to care. They tell us it's at a distance of 92,960,000 miles away from the Earth. And think about it, that is the precise distance we need it to be to sustain life on this earth. If we were any closer, we would burn If we were any further away, we'd freeze. We are at the right distance from the sun, and it from us, if you will. Scientists tell us that it takes 8 minutes for light to travel from the sun to us. 8 minutes. If the sun went out right now, you wouldn't know it for another 8 minutes. 8 minutes it takes for light to travel that distance. I want you to watch a video. You got this, Morg. The Answers in Genesis put out on the sun. It's about a little over 2 minutes. But listen, just hear how they describe some of the wonders of the sun.
The sun, created on day 4 of Creation Week to rule the day, to give light upon the earth, and to mark signs and seasons. Astronomers have found only a handful of stars anything like the sun. It is among the top 1 percentile for mass of stars. It's an ideal size to support life on Earth. Not too small, not too big. A huge red star would swallow the Earth, and a blue-white supergiant would blind us. The sun is an extremely efficient source of constant energy. Every second it produces enough energy to run 1 billion major cities for 1 year. Secular astronomers believe that the sun formed from a nebular cloud of dust and gas 4.5 billion years ago. If true, as the gases collected, the sun would have spun faster and faster, like an ice skater pulling in her arms, and in this case, it should be rotating once every few hours. But in fact, the sun spins only once every 25 days. The sun is well behaved as stars go. Sure, it has a few flare-ups now and then, but some other stars have super flares, 100 million times worse than the sun's biggest flares. Just one super flare would destroy life on Earth. Stars also blast hot gases into space called coronal mass ejections, or CMEs. These CMEs would cause radiation poisoning and death on Earth. But our sun's CMEs are mild by comparison to other stars. And not only that, the Earth, unlike the Moon, is surrounded by a protective magnetic field. When this field is disturbed, we can see the results. It's called the Aurora Borealis, or Northern Lights, a beautiful reminder of how God has created and protected the Earth.
It shows a good example, the sun, because the sun is something everybody could see. Now, if they tried to tell you about something deep in space, not everybody gets to see that. But the sun is obvious. And there is a glory in the sun, if you will, a magnificence. But that glory is not meant to cause us to see the sun as an object of worship. Rather, it is to point us to the one who is even greater, the one who is the creator. But mankind, because of darkened hearts and rebellious thoughts, does his best to ignore the creator, even today, or maybe especially today, it seems. But God's handiwork is fully on display. Paul acknowledged that truth in Romans 1. He said, that which is known about God is evident within them. They know it. They know it. For God made it evident to them. For since the creation of the world, his invisible attributes, his eternal power and divine nature, have been clearly seen, being understood through what has been made, so that they are without excuse. For even though they knew God, they did not honor him as God or give thanks, but they became futile in their speculations, and their foolish heart was darkened. Foolish indeed it is. The psalmist also said in Psalm 14:1, he says, the fool has said in his heart, there is no God. The sun is an awesome creation of an even more awesome God. Think about it for just a minute. When we hear music, and you love music, you think about who wrote this. If you go to see movies, at least in the time frame when I was a teenager, rather, I wasn't more than one. As a teenager, John Williams wrote the music for things like Star Wars and Superman. I think he did Raiders of the Lost Ark. Not sure about that one, but anyways, he wrote all this music, magnificent, and you could hear music and you go, oh, I know who wrote that. That's a John Williams. It has that John Williams sound about it. And there are other composers. If you're a musician, you listen and you go, oh, that sounds like this composer or that composer. Or maybe if you're a voice student and your professor wants you to sing a particular one, and you go, oh, no, not that one. I don't want to do one by that particular composer. I'm like, let's do something by this more exciting composer over here. But anyways, but we hear music, we recognize the style. And we see that even in some of the songs that we sing. If I hear a song, I may go, oh, well, that sounds like a particular person or group wrote that particular song. If I say Keith and Kristen Getty, there's just a sound that they have about them. Even City of Light has a particular sound at this point. Sovereign Grace. You could almost sit down and go, oh, okay, that sounds like a Sovereign Grace song, or that sounds like a City of Light song. Or paintings. When you look at a painting, you recognize that painter has made that portrait, made that picture. And we admire some, and others would go, no, it doesn't do anything for me. But if you find an artist that you like, you're like, oh, look, and you appreciate what they've done. When we see a bridge or a building, well, my first thought is I don't want to go over it and I don't want to go up it. But when you see it, you appreciate the architect, what he's done, the design that he has made, and his creativity in building things. Like down at Jekyll, they just, what is that bridge heading towards between Brunswick and Jekyll? It was a beautiful bridge. I love to admire it from the shore. I hate heights. I do, and I hate going out. I almost want to close my eyes when we go over the bridge, but I don't because I value my family. So, but I admire that. Now you take that building, what is it, Khalif, whatever. Y'all know the tallest building in the world? Y'all know what I'm talking about? Where's that at? It starts with a D, is it? Dubai? I mean, that thing's huge. And then they do these stupid videos with somebody perched atop, and you're like, no. Makes me want to fall on the ground just watching that kind of stuff. I'm like, no. But in all those things, there is a creative force behind those things, whether it's the song, whether it's a painting, whether it's a building, a structure. But they're just a reflection of the Creator and all that He has done and the magnificence of God's creation. God can paint a sunset like no other. God has created a tapestry in the stars like no other. It's not just random out there, but it shows the magnificence, the might, the creativity of God. We serve an awesome God. But here's something we need to keep in mind as believers, that this revelation in nature is not enough to explain God's grace or the way of approach that He has provided to His throne. Creation does not explain that. Creation does not give you the answer to your sin condition. That takes something far, far greater, far more significant. It takes literally supernatural revelation. And that's what we're going to see in the latter half of Psalm 19. And we're going to explore that next week. But for this week, let me just encourage you to marvel at the Creator's natural revelation. And be reminded that everyone is confronted with the testimony of nature, of creation. It's like Paul said, His invisible attributes, His eternal power and divine nature have been clearly seen, being understood through what has been made, so that they are without excuse. So can I get a witness? Creation says yes. Yes. All right, we're going to break up into two groups again tonight. Men, we'll head to the back. Ladies, you had the